Hey Bagmaker, today I'm going to be talking about bone folders and hair markers, various fabrics that I've added to my stash, the October challenge. The book review for tonight will be a book called 660 Fabulous Paper Piece Stars. Tonight's bag lab will be how to fussy cut fabric for a flap, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Social Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everyone, happy Sunday and welcome to Social Sunday. Thanks so much for joining me for the show. Whether you're watching live right now or watching the recording later on in the week, I really appreciate you tuning in. I see Julie's watching. Hello to Nancy. And also Adrian's watching from Michigan. So welcome everyone. My usual spam reminder, if you're watching over on Facebook and if you ever receive a private message from an avatar that looks like Sew Sweetness, please do report or block that. We don't send private messages through Facebook. And if they ask for any information, credit card information, ask for you to send money to claim a prize, block that and don't give them any information. If you're watching over on YouTube and you see a reply to a comment that you've left on the show, again, oftentimes the avatar looks the same as ours. Oftentimes they have a phone number in their subject line. Report or block that as well. And don't give them any of your information. I always announce the giveaway winners named verbally on the show, and we also have the giveaway winner's name added to the description of the show in case you'd like to check that out to verify who the winner was for tonight. And everything that I'm scheduled to talk about, I link to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about any of the books, fabrics, notions, or projects that I talk about during Social Sunday, just check that description and you can find out more information there. So tonight I wanted to talk about a tool called a bone folder, and this was actually emailed to me as a suggestion for a future notion of the week. I regrettably have lost track of who sent that suggestion, but I really appreciate you. And in addition to the bone folder, I'm also going to be talking about a hair marker that I've talked about in the past just because they provide similar purposes, just one's better for paper and one's better for fabric. So Danny's going to switch to the overhead camera. And I have the Fiskars bone folder. This one's actually made with plastic. I did see some online that were actually made with bone, but I figured the plastic one would be just fine with me. And of course there's other brands. Fiskars, I'm pretty familiar with them because I have a bunch of their scissors. So this is the one that I picked up, and I thought it would be great to demonstrate this bone folder with a paper template that I printed out. This is my free templates, which you can find on YouTube and on my blog for credit card slots. And in the past, I've just folded on these lines. These lines are provided on the piece for folding back and marking the lines across your fabric. And once I got the bone folder, I knew it would be more exacting to use this instead of just folding by hand. So in the past, I would just go ahead and try to line up the line the best that I could and just fold across. For the bone folder, I'm just going to go ahead and take my ruler and line it up right down the center of the line. And then I'm going to take the pointed tip kind of parallel to my cutting mat and just kind of drag it across. Sorry, what did you say, Danny?
Perpendicular.
Perpendicular, thank you. And I am using a cutting mat over here just so I don't mark off up my table. And it does score paper, so it really folded back easily and exactly right where I scored it. So I thought that was a helpful tool. If you have a bone folder and you use it for other things in your sewing room, please let me know in the comments. This is the one that I thought I would probably use most commonly. Oh, speaking of this paper template, I was in a hurry before the show and I went ahead and printed the template out, and I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, but once I printed these out, I noticed that, Danny, can you zoom out just a little bit? Thank you. As you can see, so normally in my pattern pieces, I have a rectangular box around the outer edges. I noticed it was cut off along two edges and my triangle was also cut off. This isn't the only cause of this, but when I went back to print, I noticed that I because I was in a hurry, I just downloaded this and opened it up. And the default was to open it up in my web browser, which you can change that default, but mine wasn't set like that. I generally manually open the files using Adobe Reader, but I just thought this was a good thing to mention because sometimes the pattern pieces don't print out at the correct size if you do this. So again, always make sure you're not printing out your pieces directly from your web browser, and you can verify that by when you open the piece up, you can see in the web browser like the website address. So that's a good tip that you've opened out your pieces in your web browser. Anyway, that's a sidebar. Besides the bone folder, I also brought out my Hera marker. Danny, you can go ahead and zoom in now. So Hera markers come in different materials. This one's handcrafted from wood. I've actually linked to the shop that I got this from in the description. It was American Modern Vintage. The link is in the description. He handcrafts lots of sewing tools using different combinations of woods. Plastic, I've also seen the Hera markers in plastic, but this is good for temporarily marking your pieces. You can probably see on camera, I went ahead and marked a few lines using my ruler before the show. And this is good if you need to measure and mark on your fabric, but you don't have a pen handy or you prefer not to use a pen, such as a friction pen. So I'm just going to go ahead and, oh, by the way, I wanted to mention this fabric is attached to foam interfacing, just in case you're curious. I have tons of little bag scraps that I keep attached to various interfacings, but I'm just going to go ahead and slide this along the ruler, and as you can see, there's a mark over here. This is good for quilting as well, especially if you're doing some straight line quilting, but just another fabric marking tool that isn't actually a pen. This is just a crease in the fabric. So I've linked to both of these in the description in case you're interested in checking these out after the show, and let me know if you use the bone folders for anything else in the sewing room. Danny will try to look out for that and post it up on the screen in case there's some comments about that. I had a question for you. Let me know in the comments, what's your favorite fabric marking tool? I get a lot of questions about which tools that I like the best, and I guess I like to use different tools depending on different uses. So I've got, no, I don't have it right here. I like using the Clover Choco in the white chalk only if I'm marking on the right side of the fabric. I also like using friction pens, especially if I'm marking on the wrong side of the fabric. I see Tina says, I use my bone folder to flatten my seams without an iron. Oh, that's a fantastic idea. I really like that. Sort of another way to finger press, kind of, I'm assuming you drag it along the seam. That's a really great idea. I'll have to try that out after the show. Thanks, Tina. Angela says, I also use it for pushing out corners. Yeah, I could see that because it's really sort of a blunt corner over here. I could see that would really be useful for pushing out corners without poking out all the way through the seam through your stitches. All right, so this last 3 days, my horse was at a sort of a horse show / clinic. So a clinic is sort of like as a sewist, I'm most familiar with the term workshop. So just think of it as a workshop for horseback riding. So me and my horse sort of started over with retraining in the middle of July. So we went back to all of the basics. So learning how to load on a trailer, walking up to a mounting block, which is basically just a short set of stairs that I used to get on her back. Going in the wash rack to get a bath, a shower. We started off with the very basics, and so this is the second time that we've gone. It's called off property. So basically when you go away to a show, you trailer the horse off property. So we did that this past weekend for the second time this year, and it went really great. I have a little clip Danny put together to share with you, just a little.
Nice, Sarah. Good job.
Yeah, so just a little snippet that was from earlier today. Like I mentioned, me and my horse like basically started over with retraining. So, small jumps. We only progress when she feels ready and when I feel ready, which I feel like is a great plan. So I had a lot of fun today, and my trainer's definitely done a lot of hard work getting us ready and making sure that we both feel really comfortable. So new fabric that I've added to my stash, a couple of, well, I'll just show you in the overhead camera, various fabrics. Danny's going to switch back to the overhead. This first set of fabrics is designed by Ray Ritchie, and I just really love her artwork. This fabric line is called Goblin Core, so this first one is a really funny toad wearing clothes. Danny, I think you can zoom in for these fabrics. Thanks, Danny. I got a few of the sort of smaller scale prints from the fabric line. Some snails. This fabric has potions, witch broom, so I guess like Halloween themed a bit. And this last fabric that I got, which I thought was super cute, is black cats doing, I guess, spooky things, wearing witch hats.
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft. Thank you, Danny. All right, next up, this is the only fabric that I bought from this particular fabric line. I just really liked the rabbits with kind of the floral theme, liked the lilac color on the background. And then the last three fabrics are designed by Juicy Juice. These are part of his Sleuth fabric line, and these are sort of cheater prints. Danny, actually, you could zoom out for these particular fabrics. And what I mean by cheater prints is sort of like a quilt block layout, but like in a single fabric. My friend Teresa actually made a quilted coat with prints from this fabric line, which I thought was really clever because it looks like a quilt, but it's already, it's just a single piece of fabric. And it comes in, I got all three colorways. I got this neutral one. I thought this one was cool too. And then this one was my favorite from the bunch. I like it because there's sort of like a hint of text in some of the prints. There's geometrics. There's different colors across the whole piece of fabric. So thought these would be great for a bigger bag, maybe like an airplane bag, maybe a Sloan travel bag, something like that. I've linked to all of the fabrics in the description in case you're interested in checking them out after the show. And I also have a link in the description for the October challenge, which is underway. This month, you have two options for the challenge. The first is to make Hildegard's Notion Trunk from Minikin Season 4. And the second option is to use either clear vinyl, mesh, or fold-over elastic in a So Sweetness pattern that doesn't already have those items. So perhaps you could make a mesh elastic pocket with some fold-over elastic, adding that into a project, say maybe the Amethyst project bag. It's totally up to you. Last Sunday, I believe it was, there was a suggestion for having a slideshow after that month's challenge has closed, just so we can take a look at some of the entries, and I thought that was a great idea. We're sort of implementing that mid-month, but if you did enter the October challenge and would like to be a part of the slideshow, please feel free to email a photo of your make for this month of October to either bronwyn@sosweetness.com or sarah@sosweetness.com. Danny's going to put my email address up on the bottom of the screen. That's mine, sarah@sosweetness.com, and we'll collect those photos, and Danny will put together a slideshow after October's over, and then going forward for future challenges, I'll try to be on the ball and include that information in the blog post for the challenge. So also, if you need help entering your photo into the challenge, because it is on the blog, and again, link is in the description for the October challenge, you can feel free to email your photo and we'll get that uploaded for you. So either way, I guess two separate tasks. To enter the challenge, you'll need to enter your photo on my blog, and if you would like to be included in the slideshow, you can go ahead and email your photo. I'll try to be more organized for the challenge for next month for November, but hopefully we can get some photos of the October makes for the slideshow at the end of the month. All right, I have a question for you. I was thinking about this today because I know, the holidays are coming up shortly. if you're going to a party, any type of party, what dish do you make to take with you? Let me know in the comments, maybe a side dish, maybe a dessert. Let me know in the comments. I'm always looking to add some interesting new dishes to my sort of repertoire of things to take with to a party. And I'll be checking out your comments on that after the show. All right, another thing that I wanted to mention is also a suggestion from, I think, last week's Social Sunday. I would like to put together a resource about interfacings from outside of the United States. I'm pretty familiar with, obviously, interfacings that can be purchased within the United States, but as far as other countries, I often get emails asking, for instance, I have Shapeflex listed in the pattern, usually as an interfacing in the supply list, and someone might email me from another country. I'm not familiar with this interfacing. What interfacing can I find in the country that I live in? So I would like to put together, if possible, a robust resource as far as interfacings that are available in other countries. So I posted the other day in the Facebook group asking for comments for what interfacing in my pattern, what's the substitute that you purchase in the country that you live in. So if you live in a country outside of the United States, I'd love your help with this task. Please, the link is in the description. You can click on that and find my Facebook post, and please do comment on what interfacing you use, what country you live in. If you're not on Facebook, feel free to just email me that information and I'll add it to my whatever the document is that I'm putting together, and I'll share that on a future Social Sunday show. And I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much. All right, so let's see. All right, on to the book review. For tonight's book review, I have a book and a pattern. So the book for tonight is 60 Fabulous Paper Piece Stars. And if you like foundation paper piecing, this is sort of a more current version of Carol's previous book with lots of paper piece stars with 10 new ones. So Danny's going to switch to the overhead camera. I'm not going to flip through all the pages just because they are sort of like copy shop pages with the templates on them. Actually, Danny, you could switch to the other view. That one was fine. Okay, so as with every craft book, the first few chapters are techniques, how to do foundation paper piecing, selecting fabrics, as well as adding fabrics one at a time and trimming the blocks up. So that's represented with step-by-step photos. And then here's the block. So this chart over here corresponds with the block numbers as well as how many pieces. And by pieces, that just means, let me see if I can find a picture of a block. So in this block, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 pieces in this little section, and each block is usually made up of several different sections. So this chart over here just says how many pieces in a single block. So here's sort of a collection of all the different stars, what page to find them on. And here's one example of what one of the patterns looks like. Obviously, I've covered up the copy shop portion, but all of the fabric requirements, how many pieces you'll need, are listed, and then you just go ahead and at your local copy shop, or if you have a printer, scanner, copier, you can go ahead and print this at home and make your blocks. And all of the blocks follow. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to go through all the pages just because the copy shop version is included, but let me flip through just one more time all of the different block options. So I love foundation paper piecing and I love stars the most, so I was excited to pick up this book. And I do have the previous version with just the 50 stars, but I thought I'd pick this one up just so I could have the 10 new National Parks blocks. And then new quilt pattern I picked up is from Laundry Basket Quilts. It's called Michigan. I'm going to be sharing with you another Laundry Basket quilt that I made in the past called Alaska. I picked up Michigan because I figured let's pick up another state-themed quilt, and I think I'm going to make mine using the same color scheme but in solids. I'm just a really big fan of solids, and probably for me, white background. So I think maybe tonight or tomorrow morning, I think I'm going to go through my stash and pick some fabrics out. I'm kind of on I made a lot of quilts over the summer, so I'm going to take a hiatus from quilts for a few months just because I tend to get obsessed and I'll just keep making quilts. I need to make some bags, so I'm going to probably choose the fabrics, cut them out, and then put this to the side in my little storage boxes that I have with my cut pieces. But link to this pattern is in the description in case it's caught your eye and you'd like to check it out after the show. And I also got, Dan, you could switch back to the, I think, front camera, I guess. I got 3 quilts back from the Long Armor the other day. Danny's going to actually put some photos up on the screen of, these are 3 quilts. These are the quilts I had long armed. These are pictures before I had them long armed though. This is the Joplin quilt. Love this one. First time ever using brown in a quilt, I have to say. This is the Alaska quilt that I was talking about just a second ago. This is also a pattern from Laundry Basket Quilts. I have a second Alaska quilt that I half finished but with a black background. And this is from a kit from Moda. It's called My Favorite Color is Moda. I think in most quilt shops the kit for that one is sold out, and it came in I think 5 or 6 different colorways. But you could still find the fabric online. I found it at Fat Quarter Shop, so I linked to it in the description for that 3rd quilt, but the other 2 you can purchase as PDF patterns and I think maybe paper patterns as well. I thought I would show you, I guess, just kind of the quilting scheme. I'm just going to leave these quilts folded up. They're just too large to show on camera, but Danny's going to switch back to the overhead camera. So this one, they're all digitized, so computerized, like the same all over long arm design. This is sort of a modern, I guess, orange peel type of look. Oh, I also wanted to mention, I've been getting these fusible quilt labels from Sweetwater as part of their label club for a really long time. So I have a good collection of labels, and I just got this the other day, but these are what I use for the backs of the quilts. So each month you get 2 different designs, and what I do is I just go ahead and cut these out with my rotary cutter when I'm ready to use them. And the back is fusible, and they come, if you're part of the club, they come with your name pre-printed on them already. So mine say Sarah Lawson on them, both of them. And I just leave these as sort of like raw edge applique. I machine stitch these to the back, so I just sew around the outer edge using 1/8 of an inch from where I cut it. I'm sure you could hand stitch it if you like, but I would just like to do them quickly, so I'm going to use some of these labels for these quilts. And then let's see, here's the other 2 quilts. I just wanted to show you, these were long armed by Buffalo Flats in Illinois. This one's sort of a flower theme, and the 3rd quilt is also a flower theme, but a slightly different one. You could probably see over here, this one right here. So I'm super happy to have all 3 of these back. Looking forward to using them. I have to laugh because the 3rd quilt, I looked in my pictures on Facebook. I finished that one almost 3 years ago. So 3 years later, it's finally finished and we can use it. So again, I've linked to all 3 of those quilts in the description, and the long arming was done by Buffalo Flats. Let's see. All right, Danny's favorite part of the Social Sunday show when he's not on it. We'd like to invite all of the bag makers to stand proud. Let us know in the comments that you're part of the Sew Sweetness squad. Danny and I are both super grateful that you've tuned into the show, and honestly, you really make our Sundays every single Sunday, so thank you so much for that. All right. Before we get over to Bag Lab, I wanted to mention I'll be answering some questions live after the demonstration, so if you have any questions for me, you can enter them in the comments at any time. It can be a question about a notion or tool, sewing related question, bag making related question, maybe you have a question about my sewing history. Go ahead and type those into the comments at any time. Also, of course, if you have a question during the Bag Lab demonstration, you can enter that in the comments as well, and Danny will be collecting questions so that I can answer them live after the demonstration. So Danny, are you ready?
We are interrupting the show for a special report.
Because now it is time for Bag Lab.
Okay, so for tonight's demonstration, this is actually a demonstration that I did almost 6 years ago on the show, but it's a question that I get pretty often, and it's about fussy cutting. So Tonight I wanted to demonstrate how to fussy cut fabric for a flap, and by that I mean having the fabric from the flap, the design kind of continue onto the body of the bag. I thought it might be helpful. I know a lot of you are using larger scale prints for your bags, and fussy cutting is always an option for a lot of large scale prints especially, so enjoy the demonstration. Demonstration for today. The demonstration for today is how to fussy cut a flap. So this is a flap that I have not fussy cut because it's kind of an all-over design, but what happens when you have a bag and a flap that you want to continue a design from the flap onto the body of the bag? So for example, perhaps your fabric has a horse on it. You want the head of the horse to be on your flap and the body of the horse to continue on to the body of the bag. How do you do that? So I have sort of a demonstration to show you that, and it's kind of reverse engineering. So let me show you in the side camera, and I prepared a couple of step outs just so I could explain this. And what I've prepared is a flap from one of my patterns. This is from the accordion bag pattern, and it's just a flap and a body of the bag. So again, if you're working with a bag, and let me cut over to the front view camera again just so I can show you another bag that I've pulled out. So if you're working with a bag with a flap that's flat that doesn't continue onto the back of the bag but rather just attaches onto the front of the bag, like my Hyacinth bag, this one was really easy to fussy cut because I just cut sort of twins, like the flap and the body of the bag, using the same designs as the guideline. But what do you do if you have a flap that wraps around from the back of the bag, like my Oriole bag? So it's really hard in this case to decide where to continue on the design. And so with that extra explanation, I'll cut back over to the flap again. So I'm using one of the ladies from De La Luna, and I wanted to continue this design with the damask onto the body of the bag. So I went ahead and, per the pattern instructions, I assembled my flap by sewing the exterior fabric to the lining as called for in the instructions, and because my flap closes with a magnetic snap, I went ahead and attached that as well. So obviously you'll want to use the same interfacing as called for in the pattern. I skipped my interfacing for this demo just because I wanted to get right to the nitty-gritty, but this is the fully assembled flap with that magnetic snap already installed. Okay, so the body of my bag is actually a rectangle, but if your body of your bag is a pattern piece, you'll proceed in the same manner. So I went ahead and transferred my pattern piece, and this is for the main panel, so this is going to be the front of the bag. So I transferred this to a bit of material that I could see through. So this is actually Pellon True Grid, and it's a product made by Pellon, and each of these squares is 1 inch, so I find it really helpful. I like using this when I'm transferring pattern pieces or saving pattern pieces because it doesn't tear, but I can still write on it, write down the names of pattern pieces and so on. So I have a bolt of this at home, and I really like using this product. Anyway, I cut out my main panel pattern piece according to the pattern instructions on this bit of material, and I also read ahead in my pattern, and I marked where the female half of the magnetic snap will be, just so I can reference that when I'm figuring out how to fussy cut the body of the bag to go along with my flap. Okay, so I'm going to put this True Grid to the side for just a second, and I'm going to pull out the rest of my fabric. So obviously I've cut out my flap and assembled it already. I'm going to find an area of the fabric that has that same design that my flap does. Okay, so that's the same lady, and I'm just going to pull that fabric up so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so I know this is really busy, but here's my flap right here. I'm going to sort of orient the flap so that it's on top of the fabric and the design is sort of continued. So I'm looking for especially this moth right here, so I can make sure that that design is continued, and I'm also checking the side of the fabric. Okay, so when you've got it in a good spot where you feel like the design is continuous, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull out that True Grid piece once again. So I'm going to gently leave my flap in the same position, but kind of fold it out of the way just so I can slide that True Grid piece inside. Okay, so again, I'm keeping in mind where that snap will be installed according to my little marking right there. And I'm going to pull my flap back down, and I'm going to try to connect that center of the magnetic snap with the center of that red marking. So I'm going to keep adjusting it till I find that it's directly on top of, the snap is directly on top of the marking. Okay, so that looks like a good spot. The reason that I wanted to use an item or sort of a fabric that I could see through is so while I'm moving my True Grid piece around, I can make sure my flap is still right on the design so the design is continuous. Okay, so when I'm happy with everything and I make sure my True Grid piece is not crooked or wonky, I can go ahead and remove the flap, and I'm going to actually use this True Grid to draw or rotary cut out my pattern piece. So this is actually going to be the front of the bag. As you saw before, I marked where my magnetic snap was going to be. I made a little hole with my seam ripper, and I'm also going to transfer that placement for the magnetic snap on my fabric. So while I'm assembling my bag, obviously after I've cut out this piece, attached it to interfacing, while I'm assembling everything, I have that mark there so I can keep checking while I'm working to make sure that for sure is where I need to install that magnetic snap. So as the bag comes together, because you went through those steps to make sure everything was fussy cut properly, the front of your bag should be a continuation of the design on the flap as opposed to a totally different area of the fabric and not a continuation. So hopefully that made sense. I know it was a little bit of reverse engineering like I mentioned, but hopefully that's helpful to someone as far as fussy cutting. I've seen some great fussy cut bags in the Facebook group. One of the particular bags that comes to mind is an Oriole bag that Melissa made, and she had a beautiful peacock on her Oriole bag flap, and the design was continued onto the body of the bag perfectly. So good luck experimenting with your fussy cutting. Fussy cutting, one thing I will say about fussy cutting, it does take extra fabric. So if you're not sure about the fussy cutting, you might want to buy a little bit more than the pattern calls for, because especially with large scale designs like that De La Luna print, as you can see, because I had to move that flap around and get it in just the right spot, there was a little bit more of fabric waste with that particular fabric. So just keep that in mind when you're fussy cutting. Okay, so I have a question for you. Have you fussy cut things before? So maybe you fussy cut more of a simple design like that hyacinth bag that I showed you before. Perhaps you're fussy cutting for some hand sewing or for a quilt. So whatever you're fussy cutting for, if you've tried it before, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to know. I hope you enjoyed that demonstration. It's an oldie but goodie. Danny and I were laughing while it was playing because he said, the haircut you had in the video 5 years ago, looking at you now, you have the exact same haircut, and it's true. Angela says retro video. Yeah, definitely retro video. Rob says, wow, your background has changed so much. Yeah, the early days, we were in a very small room and had to make it work. Tamara says, excellent video. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Tamara. All right, I wanted to announce the winner of last week's giveaway, and then we'll get over to the live questions. So last week's winner is Racer Girl, so congratulations to you, Racer Girl. Please email me after the show so that I can get you connected with your prize, and I will also have another giveaway at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. All right, Danny, take it away with the questions. Ella says, Sarah, what do you do with most of the quilts that you make? That is a good question. I think I've made a good amount for gifts. We have a lot of them here too, especially when it's getting cooler. Sometimes I'll have 1 or even 2 quilts on my bed. Everyone else likes using quilts. We have quilts in a lot of rooms in the house, and yeah, we're a quilt household for sure. Pat says, how difficult would it be to make the book cover in Minikin Season 4 from cork or leather? So I think, thinking about the book cover, and actually the whole reason that book cover, the Goldenrod book cover pattern came about for Minikin Season 4 was because I wanted to make a book cover for my therapist, but in cork. I was thinking black cork. I have not yet gotten to make that, but if I did make it in cork or leather, I probably would consider binding the inner seams at the end. as the pattern is written, it's written to sew everything right sides together and then turn it right side out at the end, so that there's no raw edge seams left on the inside. Just because it's sort of a smaller project, and I would like to keep the cork looking nice. And again, I haven't done this myself. It's just my thoughts about it. I would probably finish all the pieces. So at the end, you would have like 3 major pieces, the front, the back, and the portion with the zipper. I would sew the exterior to the lining for each of those respective pieces. I would sew the bag exterior fabrics facing so that you would result in raw edges in your lining. And then I would cover the raw edges. I was thinking about you could use binding. I was thinking about using fold over elastic in a color that matches the lining so that it blends in really well. Just my initial thoughts, but I expect to do that when I make my book cover with cork, I think. Rebecca says, can wax canvas edges stay raw or will it fray? You'll definitely want to, with wax canvas, sew everything right sides together. Don't leave raw edges because they can fray. I was originally planning on having Bag Lab tonight for wax canvas, but that'll be for another night. Our shipment of wax canvas, we have some left in the shop, but it got delayed, so we'll premiere that Bag Lab for wax canvas as soon as we get some more in stock. Denise says, I've completely lost my Sojo. I am going to Longboat Key in a few weeks and need a quick make to take with suggestions. Well, let's help Denise out, everyone. If you're watching live, go ahead and comment for Denise a suggestion for something, a project that you feel like if you lost your Sojo, a Sew Sweetness project that you would like to make. I'm thinking the best thing to make personally is a smaller project, a pouch or other item for storing something to take with you on your trip, maybe for toiletries, cosmetics, something like that. I'm thinking maybe a Windsor pouch or maybe a nuthatch organizer, the version of the pattern with the 3 separate sections, maybe to put some things in. Maybe a Zeppelin pouch. But let me know in the comments for Denise, who has lost her Sojo, which Sew Sweetness project you would recommend for Denise to make. Chris says, I'm a happy follower of Sew Sweetness. Don't post a lot, but I am enjoying your products and tutorials. I really appreciate you, Chris. I love your avatar. That's super cute. I'm assuming that's your dog. Tamara says, this is for Denise, make an I Spy pouch. That's a great one. Comes together really fast. Rebecca says the Tower Crossbody bag or the Baker Street. Those are both free patterns and videos, by the way. Linda's suggesting a Super Bloom. It's a tote bag. Great to take with you, especially to the beach. Linda says the Bella pouch. That's a good one. That one comes in 3 different sizes. And Olivia's recommending the Persimmon dumpling pouch. That one is also a free pattern. Comes in 3 different sizes. And Jamie's recommending the Annex double zip. Lots of great suggestions. Thanks so much. Eileen's mentioning the Enigma from Minikin Season 4. And Ruth says the cotton candy pouch always makes me smile. I love that comment. That one makes me smile also. And Jennifer says Zeppelin was a fun one. All right, Danny, I'm running out of breath.
Take a drink.
All right, thank you. Cynthia says, Sarah, last year I believe you shared some little cross-stitch kits you were working on. Can you share the name or brand of those again? Yes, my most favorite cross-stitch kits. Satsuma Street is the company, Satsuma with an S. She has either PDF patterns or kits. My favorite are the ornament kits because you stitch onto perforated paper, which is really novel. It's just a small little rectangle of paper. And when you're done stitching, you cut out the ornament in the shape of whatever the ornament is. I don't have any handy on my table to show you, but check out her website. They're fantastic. For now, she has Christmas, Halloween, and Easter ornaments. I'm hoping she'll come out with different times of the year ornaments in the future, but I have almost all of them. I'm sure I've made at least 15 of these ornaments. I just love them so much. I haven't worked on them in a while, but maybe tonight when I go to bed, I'll start working on my half-finished one. It's a Christmas one. Mary Jo says, thank you for letting me learn bag making skills from you. Upon selling a bag from your pattern, the lady asked me to be a vendor at their ladies' night out. Well, that is awesome. Congratulations to you, Mary Jo. I'm sure that will be a really fun experience, and I'm sure she was just blown away when she saw your bag. Anne says, always learn so much from you, Sarah. Why, thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. Rebecca says, when using rivet snaps, should the button part of the snap be exposed or hidden in between the layers? That's a good question. So for rivets, I usually buy the double capped rivets, rivets or snaps? I'm assuming you mean the snap with the cap, which kind of looks like a rivet on the other side. So that depends. It could go either way. I kind of like so an example is the Oslo Craft bag. The side pockets have a flap with a snap, and I have the caps from the snap showing on the outside, just because that flap is, I think it's, from memory, just fabric and shape flex, so sort of a thinner layer. I wanted the snap to have more to grab onto, so if that's a situation where it's a thinner layer, you could either put a scrap of interfacing in between the layers, or you could just have the cap showing on the outside of in my example, a flap. Alternately, you can also have it in between the layers. I kind of like it showing just because if it's in between the layers, you can kind of feel where the cap is. So in my opinion, might as well be showing, but I guess personal preference. Either way is fine. Just keep in mind the layers of fabric and interfacing, just keep that in mind. Really good question. I hadn't thought of that before. Jennifer says, do you have PUL in the shop? I need to make a changing pad for a diaper bag. I do not, but check out splashfabrics.com. She has some great food safe. I know it's a changing pad, so it's not for food, but she sells great food safe laminated fabrics on her website. I've purchased some in the past, and they're great quality. Again, the website is splashfabrics.com. Shannon says, what Pellon number is True Grid? You've got me there.
I got you.
Thanks, Danny. Danny's going to look it up for me really quick.
Already got
You know, I know a lot of the Pellon numbers off the top of my head, but that one is, I do not know that one.
It's going to pop up in a second.
All right, Danny. Cindy says, while Danny's looking that up about the True Grid, Cindy says, have you ever entered a quilt in the county or state fair? I have not. I guess I kind of like my quilts for myself because then if my points don't match up or something like that, I don't have to stress about it. Thank you, Danny. This is from Danny. Pellon True Grid is number 810. Donna says, Sarah, thanks for sharing your craft with us. I always look forward to Sunday night. Your show gives such great value to us. Well, I appreciate that, Donna. Thank you so much. I really love putting the shows together. It's always fun because I work on my outlines for Social Sunday on Sundays throughout the day. I'm always thinking of things throughout the day to add. So today, since I had the horse show this weekend, I wrote my outline the other day. And today, while I was getting all my things on set, I started thinking of more things that I wanted to talk about, such as, for example, the bone folder. I knew I was going to be talking about that, but I was like, oh, but the harem marker, you should talk about that also. So I added that in quickly, and I added the quilts that I had long arms because I had forgotten I got those back. I haven't washed them yet. So it's just really fun for me, not only putting the outlines together, but like adding some things in last minute. So yeah, Sunday is always great fun for me putting the show together for sure. All right, Danny is calling in on the question. So I apologize if I did not get to your question live, but I will be back again next Sunday with Danny on the set with me for another episode of Social Sunday. So I hope you'll join me for that. One last thing to get to is the giveaway for tonight. The giveaways are all randomly drawn. You have until the end of the day. Oh, Linda says, I'm new. Who is Danny? Oh, thanks for tuning in, Linda, to the show. Danny's my husband.
Read the comment.
Tune in next week to meet Danny on the show. Oh, is that how you wanted me to leave it?
Yeah. So
So should I not say who you are?
you got to zoom in next week.
All right. Yeah, I guess tune in next week. Danny wants it to be a surprise. The giveaways are randomly drawn. You have until the end of the day this Saturday to leave a comment on the show wherever you watch, either on Facebook or YouTube. Just leave a comment on the show. and we put all the comments together, and I randomly draw one, and I'll announce the winner of tonight's giveaway on next Sunday's show. And I have a bonus question for you to answer in the comments for an extra method of entry. What is your favorite new TV show? I know I sometimes ask about favorite TV shows and movies. In particular, tonight I wanted to know about favorite new TV show. So I have a sort of like a guilty pleasure TV show. I don't watch a lot of reality TV. I don't know why. I just don't. There's no problem with reality TV. I just don't by happenstance, I don't happen to watch it. But a few years ago, my friend John, I saw he recommended Love is Blind. It's like a dating show, but the participants only talk to each other behind like a wall, so they don't see each other until they propose to each other. And it sounded pretty fun, but I'm just like obsessed with that show. Like as soon as they drop new episodes, like I have to watch them like back to back to back to back until I've watched them all. But I guess that's my guilty pleasure new TV show-ish. It's been out for a few years, but I also recently watched, if you have Apple Plus, Flora and Son. It's a movie, but if you've ever seen the movie Once or Begin Again, they're all generally music-themed movies. And this one is about a woman in Ireland who has a teenage son, and they're not getting along, and so she starts to learn guitar so that she can connect with her son. And I was waiting for a couple months for it to come out. The star, Eve Hewson, is actually, if you like U2, the band U2, Bono, that's his daughter. So I loved the movie. I love everything she's in. She was also in Bad Sisters, a show I watched recently. So let me know in the comments what your favorite new TV show is. I know that was a huge run-on for me, but I get excited about new shows. The giveaway prize for tonight is a $50 gift certificate. And again, comment with your favorite new TV show. I hope you had a great time watching Social Sunday. I sure did. And have a great week and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.